Hi Virgos, and welcome to your October 2021 General Tarot Forecast. This is Sky, coming on to talk to you about your energy in the month of October. Wow, what an incredible month it is in general. I hope you guys were able to check out the October Comprehensive Astrology video because it's a good one, and it will help you to understand a little bit more about some of the astrology and general themes coming in the month. But I'm assuming you've been able to watch that. Let's dive into your tarot forecast. I'm going to talk about intuitive messages, a week-to-week tarot forecast, and then an extended reading on Patreon. So, yes, generally what I'm feeling for Virgo is that something has to go. Eight of Swords, the Tower, Justice. There's going to be a leveling of the playing field. There's going to be it's kind of like a demolition in some ways. I don't know if you've noticed this, but I drive around and everywhere that I'm going, I'm seeing like demolished buildings everywhere. And maybe this is because I'm a progressed Virgo rising, because I feel this in your energy where it's like things that you used to see might no longer be there, like certain old, outworn structures might be invisible now or removed. So there's a removing process, there's a letting go process, and there's a consolidation of what's really important in your life at this time. And it's kind of like claiming what's really yours also in this month, like with justice, like maybe it's even in some cases like through a court situation or something, like there's got to just be like a this is mine and this is my case and this is my, and even if it's not like actually like that, maybe that's how you need to think about things yourself. Like if you were, I don't know, like just setting up hypothetical situations in your mind. Like if you're having anything that you're really indecisive about, or you're really like, I don't know what to do in this situation. Like if you were to appear before a judge or before some type of authority about it, like what do you think, what type of direction do you think it would go? Would they really care? Would this be a big deal? Or would they have like a very direct, clear, like you got to do this, like just try to give it to yourself like that. Like either it's a situation that doesn't matter that much, or it's like very clear what you need to do. So try to not linger in a forced sense of indecisiveness. Libra season, right? The scales are even this Libra season. There's no outweighing on one side or the other. There's a clear resolution if we would like that, but it's hard for some of us to accept it the way that it is right now. Okay? Sometimes we just get what it was that we wanted, only to find out that it's not really what we want long term. Sometimes we just get into that situation and then we're out of it. And thank God for that. I mean, the universe doesn't play, does it? Like, if we're not meant to be there, given our current context, we won't be there. And it's not about having something that you want taken from you either. So, like, we don't want to hear anything like that right now. It's like, if it's taken from you, you probably actually didn't want it. And can we repeat that, Virgo? Like if you lose that relationship, or if something ends, or if you're not granted access to something again, it's probably because you really didn't like it. But maybe sometimes when things are taken, we start to fool ourselves and be like, oh my God, that's all I ever wanted. If we had it now, we'd probably walk away from it anyway, And this can seem a little bit like pessimistic, but I almost feel like you've got to give it to yourself like that. Like, if I don't have that person in my life anymore, if I don't have that job or that opportunity anymore, thank God, thank God I don't. Like, wow, now I can do this. Now I can focus on what I really needed to be. Now I can really be my own cheerleader or my own mascot in the way that I always needed to be. And that's what I'm really feeling for you, is like the universe is asking you to be who you've needed yourself to be. And if this relationship or if this career or if this job is going to inhibit or eclipse or prevent you from being who you've needed yourself to be, that's probably what's going to go, so that you can't, inhibit yourself like that. You've got Six of Cups and Two of Wands, and that to me feels like a very positive, Page of Wands as well. There's a really good creative, waiting in the wings here. There's someone who really knows how to get there, how to get this goal that you have, how to portray this situation, And it takes tact, it takes taste, it takes regard, but it also takes time and like giving yourself the time. Like Justice and Eight of Swords, I feel like some of you are strapped for time. I feel like some of you are trapped by like a previous output or by a previous like industriousness. And I definitely want you guys to check out my Patreon page because especially if any Leo placements, in Leo's extended reading, we talked in a great way about like the Industrial Revolution and about how some of that stuff is kind of melting away right now and how we're kind of turning ourselves into factories and we need to shut down that tendency now. So you got to kind of get yourself out of the factory to some degree in this time, and you got to maybe take a more natural approach. And you got to give yourself a little bit more time, absolutely, because you seem so strapped for time. And as a progressed Virgo ascendant, I can tell you, like, I am very proud of the way that I have managed time lately. I'm very proud through Virgo season. You know, and I think all Virgos can relate to this. Like, there's kind of a gauntlet in a way, but I also realize that it can never be quite like that again in that way. And that I've also demanded too much of myself, and that I've treated myself in an inanimate way as maybe a high-ranking industrialist would treat a factory. So it's just not what we need to be doing to ourselves, because we're not factories, we're people. And that's probably the basis of this month of a realization, like realizing that you're not a factory, you're a person, realizing that you're also not a machine for another person's expectations, whether that's a boss, whether that's a spouse, whether that's a boyfriend, girlfriend, or acquaintance, or a teacher, I don't know. Like, you're not a factory for their expectations, but nonetheless, I would recommend that you meet all of the expectations you've signed up for and committed to now, because you need to see yourself following through. You need to prove that to yourself. But as you make future commitments, as you move around the chess game of life, I don't know, that has to start being a little bit more of a natural experience than what it's been here, okay? And there's so much better ways to even like monetize what you're doing, okay? So if we're looking at this from like a career perspective, or from a, I don't know, a business perspective, or like social media, whatever you want to do, and you're like worried about how you're going to like pay your rent, or you're like worried about how you're going to maintain things, there's so many better ways. Like there's an evolving happening right now where you can actually, in ways that you like way more, prosper. So prospering Virgo. The Tower's going to come in though this month, and it's going to really question the current regime that you're in, okay? And it's going to kind of show you like how it could be. And why not make some space for that? Why not get out those blank pieces of paper and draw it from the top down? Why not just give yourself many, many different plans, as if you were like an executive thinking of how you want your life to be? If we're going to get into this industrial game, let's just take it from that perspective. Give yourself a few proposals. This is how I'll do it. That's how I'll do it. I could have like this type of business. I could have these 17 different types of businesses. I don't know, whatever it's appropriate. Or I could have like different houses, or I could have different, I don't know. You've got to de-rigidify is what I'm trying to say here. You're maybe too rigidly caught in a certain routine, and this Libra season is really going to show you how much that weighs, how much that costs, how much that really takes. And yes, it's also going to really provide a lot for it at the same time, but is it worth it? You know, we got to measure up those things now. Overall though, Virgo, intuitive messages. Trust the little seeds that could be planted right now as a sort of plan, or as a sort of new stream of prosperity, more than you're trusting what worked in like 2015, for instance, or what worked even in like 2017. Even that start, I mean, I yearn for the type of impetus of 2017, you know, when Saturn was in Sagittarius. I miss the trust of that time. I miss I'm just going to put it out there, and I'm going to like see what it yields and trust that it's bringing to me what I need. But the way that things worked in 2017, I got a sharp shooting pain in my head when I tried to channel that through. That's not the way that things work right now. Okay, we are not in that paradigm anymore. We have a much more actually authentic way, a much more personalized way, and a much more like identity-based way, which is not really a good or a bad thing. But what it does mean is that we can now humbly create in an integrity-based way and have almost a guarantee of success. Whereas in 2017, there had to almost be a very like meticulous advertising strategy or a very meticulous kind of like niching or something in order for things to really go. That now will seem like inauthentic isn't the right word. It's in that territory. But that's actually too kind of a word for it. That it almost seems like fishing for some type of attention or fishing for some type of false result. And I just want to, for any of the business owners out there, for any of the, also just for people who are like maybe expecting to like really change their lives, whether that's career or location, you know, the way we present is a big important point here. And it needs to be more of a humble and self-generated truth than it needs to be like a pre-created niche that's already been working for many people before. And I think that's beautiful, but for those of us, you know, who have created these like very niche identities, very niche expressions, I think that it's a bit harsh right now because it works, but it's also like kind of so rigid and so lacking in seasonal energy. Okay, again, it's like, and this is harkening back to the Leo extended reading on Patreon. Go check that out, where we were talking about the Industrial Revolution and factories and how they have created things on a continuum and how they have tried to be this sort of non-changing, static, productive apparatus, and that's so juxtaposed to the way that this world works, like where we have like a spring where things grow, and yes, there's a production by the earth, but we also have a fall and a winter where the earth chooses to stop, okay, and does not produce in that way. And if we don't give ourselves those points, and if we think that we can just produce in this sort of like I'm not going to get political, but if we think that we can just like produce like in a static way, it's gonna be a recipe for failure. And we got to see that here and now. So Virgos, as a very productive, monotonous, routine-based sign, 6th house energy, very industrious. Any business plan, any strategy has to now have a seasonal component to it. For resonance, yes. For success, I don't know. I mean, again, it's like the expectations are that, you know, you never stop, you never quit, you never, you know, produce less. And it's like, it's just like some of the things that we're producing too. Like if you think of some of the chemicals, if you think of some of the food production, if you think of some of the output like that and what impact that's having on our health, isn't that frightening that not even that has a season, that not even that tries to relinquish itself at all? It's like pretty overwhelming stuff, and there is going to be a shift, I think. I think that, and I would really like to see that happen at the consumer level, you know? Like maybe we need to stop, I don't know, swiping our credit cards so much for so much chemical-based food production, but I've been bad about that lately. Like I've been in a move, you know, Sky's been doing 3 like huge, you know, manifestational projects right now, this YouTube channel being one of them. And because of that, Sky's credit card has been swiped for, you know, a lot of fast food and a lot of Starbucks and a lot of stuff like that. But I think I was talking to you, Virgo, about my, no, this was in the Leo extended reading. It's been a long day of readings. My grocery cart, I was really proud of it recently. It was like celery and bananas and rice and aloe juice and apple cider vinegar and it would have been a lot of lemons. Okay. And, hit that join button below if you want to become a part of the lemon tribe here. There's going to be a new lemon tier coming to that soon, so that's fun. But yeah. Where was I going with all of this? You just, it really freaks you out when you think about it, doesn't it? Like how much we never let go of this sort of fiscal machine. I think for Virgo, with the Tower and Justice coming up, that you got to do yourself a justice now. And I think that there's maybe a rebudgeting, or there's a new way that money works in your life, or a new way that of time spending or energy spending that's much more natural. We got to talk about this week to week, though, Virgo, if we're ever going to get to the extended reading. Week number 1. Let's bring this down a little bit. Let's bring this down from like economic theory, and let's get more into material, more day-by-day Virgo experience. Week 1 of October. If you think this is the best tarot reading you've ever had, hit that thumbs up button below. I think this is the best tarot reading that YouTube's ever had. I'm kidding. It's a joke. That would be very arrogant to say. I do think it's an interest. I think it's a different one. Different at best. Week 1. 8 of Swords, read it down by Page of Wands. Which way is it going to be? Is it going to be 8 of Swords, or is it going to be Page of Wands? It's like one or the other. Like we can strap ourselves down in these like old routines. Some of them work, some of them are great, some of them need to be retained, but some of them are not great, okay? Some of them are not great. Some of these routines have had more power over, some of these routines have owned us rather than us owning these routines, okay? Progressed Virgo Ascendant, as a confirmation, I can tell you. Page of Wands, reading that down, says you've got a creative purpose. You've got something better to do with your time. You've got a little bit more important things to tend to now, and you're doing it all. You're letting yourself do this gauntlet, Now you gotta like it. Now you gotta enjoy your life. Now you gotta, I don't know, go on a date or something. That could be interesting. Week 2, you've got Justice rooted down by the Tower. And the second week of October says bye-bye to that linear, fixed, static, industrious thing that was a recipe for misery. And it equals out to some degree what you've been doing, and it does it the way that it always needed to be done. That's just kind of a raw channeling, but that's what I'm called to tell you guys, is like, the way it's needed to be, let that be. Don't force yourself to do more than you can handle. Certainly not in the long term. I mean, there's an argument for it, if I can be really honest with you guys, about the long-term momentum that we're a part of right now. There's an argument for a static industriousness for like the next 4 or 5 months. But the problem is sometimes when we get into that, we think, wow, this is so predictable and repetitive and generating of stability that I can now buy a $3 million house with debt. Or that I can now, and that's like what, like a 4-bedroom house nowadays in the US. Welcome to the United States. I can now buy a 4-bedroom, $3 million house, and I can now buy a $75,000 car with a 4-cylinder engine, and I can now prolong this industriousness to achieve that result. A little bit of cynicism, not cynicism, satire, we'll call it, a little bit of fun. But there's got to be like better ways to do it, and better ways to not find ourselves beholden to those types of traps. Debt traps. Second week. Beware of debt traps. There's always a better way to do it, and this is why I really respected some of my ancestors who have not been, a part of industriousness and wealth. They were actually quite tribal and quite away from that. And I've seen how they lived very wealthy lives without having to play the money game, okay? I think this is really poignant for Virgos right now. It has happened, okay? It's to a degree an illusion, and we need to wake up to that, and we need to be a little bit more prudent with what we have underneath us. And, for a period of time, yeah, why not have fun with it? But, like, in the long term, is there a more sensical way to work with these things? Again, evening of the scales in the second week, and a falling through with the Tower, two major arcana cards, your only two major arcana cards. The second week of October is the most important week of the month for Virgo. Do the right thing, think about your integrity, and let some of that stuff fade off. Okay, week number 3, you've got Knight of Cups reversed, rooted down by the Six of Cups. These two cards have been coming up a lot this month, especially that Knight of Cups reversed. Okay, I want to draw your attention to it. There's an error of secrecy for some people this month. There's a lapse in not judgment, but oversharing is possible. And also appearing as if one is hiding something when they're not. I don't know what that's about. I've been seeing it energetically all the time, though, where there's this false sense of suspicion in some cases. Like, some people don't trust for fun. Like, there's a trust issue. Basically, there's a collective trust issue, and how would there not be? How would there not be right now? But watch out for projecting this onto innocent people. Watch out for projecting this, like, ooh, that's a non-trustworthy person. In some ways, it's smart to assume the worst. I get that. But Six of Cups is asking you to maybe not necessarily trust more. It's not about trusting people, because we have to actually up our standards of trust right now. But there's a general sense of kindness that is important. And it really helps us to overcome this, like, lethal reliance on money for some people, lethal reliance on corporatism, lethal reliance on the global economic system. So kindness, let's build that up. And it's interesting, starting third week of October, Scorpio season, with the theme of kindness being what comes in. Because Scorpio season always offers a chance for life-changing kindness or life-changing meanness. And that meanness that we've experienced, the Venus in Scorpio video that I made, you can check that out, link below or in the top right-hand corner. That is at a peak right now, meanness or mean-spirited people, but also it's going to be counterbalanced, and there's going to be an equal and opposite reaction to kindness. And I think that we, as spiritual warriors here, have to be the progenitors of that kindness. So I really challenge everyone here to do that. Week 4, you have the Two of Wands rooted down by Page of Pentacles. And voila, that new formula is there, that new business is started, that new vision is in your head, that new form, that feels so good, Virgos, that feels so good. When things are small, when things are starting, when there's a glimmer of hope, when there's a visceral understanding of the power that you do have in your hands. Wow. And I want you to have more faith in these small ideas, or in these little pieces, rather than these huge central monolithic cores. Those things are scary to me right now. And there's a time and a space for them, and they are needed. And what I mean by central monolithic core is, like, basically the big things that we've always worked on, what has just always worked, and what we maybe have derived all of our time and money and energy from. Those things are frightening to me, and to some degree right now, and I don't totally trust them. And I think that it's kind of like an octopus, it's like it has that central brain, and then also it has, like, the tentacles, and they each have their own intelligence as well. I trust more in these sort of semi-intelligent components of what we're doing than I do in the main part. But for some people, it's the other way around. So it's kind of like, I can't really stand by that firmly for everyone. but you will probably know where you're standing with that, or where you feel, or how you feel based on that. And basically, what it means in the fourth week of October, I mean, Scorpio season's looking beautiful for you, Virgo. I've got to say, your sign actually looks like it's going to be doing the best in Scorpio season. You're the last sign of the cycle for October. And each time for all the other 11 signs, to me, it's felt a little bit like unclear. I couldn't really understand what was going on. I just assumed I had to get there into Scorpio season to really understand. I love what I'm seeing for you there. Okay, I love it. And I want to talk more about that in your extended reading on Patreon. In conclusion, Virgos, break the chains of the confines that you think are what it takes to get you by right now. Retain that part of it that is truly beautiful and truly works. Let go of a few of these dead weights. Do a little bit of that pruning still yet, even here in October. And prepare for some of these new seeds to be planted, okay? And let's talk more about that in your extended reading. I recommend that you all come over there and check it out. I do bonus weekly forecasts every week, every Saturday. I do all these readings early and ad-free. It might be changing up a little bit in the future, but that's fine. As of right now, as of this video, that's what's going on. All these readings early and ad-free, and weekly tea chats. So very reasonable, very reasonably priced. Check it out if you want to support this channel. If you want to support an independent creative on YouTube, you can do that with the link below on Patreon or in the center of the screen. Much love, Virgos. Thank you so much. I will see you hopefully in the extended reading. Let's go do that now. Much love. Bye. Happy October.